Hi, my name is Anand Gandhi. I have made films like Tumbbad and Ship of Theseus. I'm the producer of various fiction and non-fiction films in India. I've also produced tabletop games like Shasan and Azadi. I run a media studio. We produce a wide variety of expressions and cultural artifacts.
Okay, so in the end, what do you prefer to do? Producing, directing? I don't know. What's your favorite thing?
Really, everything. There are so many ways of expressing and engaging in inquiry about life and its purpose that I get very greedy about it. I try to participate in as many things as I can that resonate with me. So I really like doing a wide variety of things. I spend a lot of time in my research on cognitive neurobiology and system sciences and complexity systems. I spend just as much time writing and directing films, producing games, producing documentaries. So I really like all of it.
So tell me, you have like an Insignificant Man was rather successful in terms of it went traveled all over the world, and it's the same happened with Tumbbad. So what's the recipe? So two very different films, but equally successful. So tell me, is there a recipe, or what do you need to do? You think?
The recipe has always been an inquiry for truth, like an inquiry um, for an inquiry of truth and an inquiry of the world that we could build together. Um, the first one is more objectively available. The first one, which is truth, you can have epistemes for, you can have rules for determining what is true. You can have a scientific framework for. The second part is where uh, we fumble a lot as a civilization. The part where we talk about what kind of world we ought to build. What does that world look like? What should be allowed in that world? What should be not allowed in that world? What part of our natural selves, our natural societies, what part of our lizard brains and our primate instincts and emotions should be inherited, and which parts should be discarded from that world, from that society. That's where we start arguing. That's where it starts getting uncomfortable for us. And that's the part that we try to investigate into with as much clarity as we possibly could. And then we reverse engineer from there our values. So values, I believe, are not an inheritance from the past. Values we ought to inherit from the future that we seek to build. I think that is somewhere the framework that seems to resonate with people around the world with our films. Even when the authors change. So An Insignificant Man was directed by Khushbu Ranka and Vinay Shukla. I just produced it. Tumbbad, I made it very actively. I'm the creative director on it. I'm the producer, the executive producer, the writer. So I created Tumbbad in that sense, made Tumbbad. But in both cases, even though they are completely different genres and films and authorships, I feel that there is a continuity of that inquiry.
Okay, and you also deal with VR now, am I correct?
Yeah.
So to tell me a bit about what's going on there.
For now, we are not making any new virtual reality documentaries. For a while, we produced a very. So
Because I
sorry.
have an interview. Sorry.
For a while, we produced a wide range of virtual reality documentaries. For now, we are taking a pause on VR, and we are seeing how the medium evolves. So we're waiting for the medium to kind of go through its next couple of phases of evolution before we resume working in the medium. But yeah, I've been medium agnostic. I ask myself the question. Um, uh, the question really that I ask myself is what would the Buddha do if he was around?
Oh, really?
What kind of stories would he tell?
Yeah.
So I don't think of myself as a filmmaker or a media producer or a game producer. I think of myself as as a part of that legacy, as a part of the legacy of people who looked at the greatest ideas they had at their disposal and synthesized them and simplified them for a large number of people. Simplified them in the language of metaphor, allegory, fables, stories, because metaphor is the cornerstone of human cognition. Through metaphor we can quantify the unquantifiable. Through metaphor we can access what is otherwise only qualitative and subjective, and document the interiority of the other. So metaphor is a very, very powerful medium. Story is a very powerful medium, and that's why people from the Buddha to Kabir used it over and over again in the part of the world that I come from. So it's kind of a legacy that I've submitted myself to, and it's the legacy of making the complex intuitive. It's a legacy of making the greatest anxieties, warnings, aspirations, prescriptions of our civilization available for everyone.
And okay, there is this kind of battle, let's say, between VR filmmaking and AI filmmaking now, like which one of the two will dominate? Do you have this?
VR and AI?
Yeah. It's not the same, but it seems like one of the two will have.
I'm hard pressed to imagine that there will be one without the other. I'm hard pressed to imagine that they will not merge. They will most definitely have to merge into one medium. If you look at the history of human expression from cave painting onwards, we have slowly migrated towards higher and higher fidelity of record keeping. And every time we reach the highest form, each time we reach the cranked up capacity of that particular medium in being able to record reality, we crank it up ever so more to record the interiority, to record what is invisible. And that's really what's going to happen with VR and AI filmmaking.
Okay.
The craft is going to be achieved, the craft part of it, the recording part of it, the simulating part of it is going to be achieved very rapidly. In the next 1 year, we are going to see AI being able to simulate, replicate, and generate a very, very wide variety, pretty much all of reality. What's going to happen after that is what excites me more, is what I'm more invested in, which is how that will now be used to investigate what we always gravitate towards investigating, which is the interiority, which is the relationship between the self and the universe, the self and the environment. How are we going to use that tool once again, to now investigate this extremely rapidly changing self and environment, where the environment is also the self now, where AI, which is kind of our extended self, the extended self of humanity itself, the augmented self of humanity itself, with its own sentience and with its own agenda and with its own set of drivers and limitations. It's going to be incredible to investigate what this means anymore, what it means to be alive anymore, what it means to, we are going to have a completely new vocabulary of philosophy, a new vocabulary of existence, a new vocabulary of life and death. So I think how we deploy the medium of VR and AI, which are tools, which are great tools and much more than tools, they're sentient tools. They're tools with cognition, they're tools with their own cognition and imagination. So I think it's going to be incredible how we use them as co-authors, as co-pilots, to then further investigate into the meaning of life and the universe.
You are very optimistic. You don't fear the consequences at all.
I do. I'm just as concerned about the consequences. There are, we have 8 billion humans on the planet who are very soon and very rapidly going to need ways of we're rapidly going to need to build infrastructure that can feed, house, shelter, educate half the human population that will not fit into this transition phase as we transit from being semi-automated to being fully automated. We are going to see a massive crisis, and it concerns me profoundly. But at the same time, there are multiple responsibilities and functions that I carry, like all of us. Because the previous question was to the artist. The artist is excited about the investigation, the inquiry, and the use of this extremely sophisticated sentience to augment my own. But at the same time, the individual that's concerned about social well-being and political well-being of of our civilization, I'm rapidly and profoundly concerned about the next few years as we transit into, even before we get to the point of universal basic income, universal basic resources, universal basic equity. I don't know what the solution is going to look like, and by the time we get there, I fear it might just be too late. So there is a part of me that's extremely concerned about what's going to happen at a massive scale, and there is a part of me that knows, that is absolutely certain, that using AI we are going to be inventing the cure to cancer, the cure to death. We're going to have longevity. We're going to, we're going to find personalized education, personalized enlightenment at fingertips for people. So it's both our problems, our challenges, and our solutions are going to be on steroids now.
Okay, good. Okay, and tell me, how is it like working in India movie industry at the moment? How would you describe the whole setting, let's say?
Sorry?
In the Indian movie industry, how is it right now? Hindi, let's say, or
It's a very exciting time. I feel it's such an exciting time to be in the region. A region that is finding its ground, finding its personality, discovering itself. A region of a billion young people who are so invested in their inquiry, who are invested in who they are, trying to find out who they are, who they were, where they come from, where they are going, what they can make of their life. I'm extremely excited to be a part of a world where it's at a time when it's beginning to come into its own, and that trickles into the cultural ecosphere as well. Films are increasingly exciting. More interesting films, more fascinating films have been made in India in the last couple of years than probably the last few decades before that. So it's a fascinating time to be in India. Of course, there are challenges of 1.5 billion people being together, challenges of a history that has been stolen for 400 years. Of a place that has been completely stolen from by people who have taken things from the region and taken it out of the region over and over again. So there are those challenges. There are challenges that are inherited from bad systems, inherited from the colonial period, bad frameworks, philosophical frameworks, moral frameworks inherited from colonial times. So there are lots of vestiges, lot of intellectual vestiges, traditional vestiges, bureaucratic vestiges. Systems need a jolt. But it's an exciting time to be in the region, to be able to participate in building something.
Okay. And can you maybe tell me a bit about future projects? What are you working on next? Maybe next.
I'm working on this. I'm working on this large-scale mythology. It's a very, very vast mythology. I've been building with my co-creator Zain Memon for the last 4 years now. I've been working on creating this. It's not a story; it's a system of stories. So we have already written about 1,000 stories within it.
Wow.
It's a massive narrative project, sprawling narrative project, which is now going to take its expression as films, games, graphic novels, theatre productions. A wide variety of expressions will be deployed and will express this vast mythology.
Completely original, or
Completely original. Completely original with of course drawing a lot of inspiration from Asian mythologies.
So your own cinematic universe then?
Our own cinematic universe. That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, great. I guess that's it. Thank you very much
you
for
so
your
much.
time.